The biggest thing is action. So many people have ideas but don't turn it into something. And nowadays, in 2020, the things that are possible are endless. The ways you can help and reach and get your ideas out there. I mean, the list goes on and on, but you have to just know that it's possible and figure out a path to get there, which has a lot to do with who has guided me there. I mean, I've had mentors that have taught me.
Hey everybody, so great to have you joining me today. My name is Lane and I cannot wait to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Samantha Day. We're going to be talking today about her experience in business and in consulting and in writing. If you like videos like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel and give this video a like, and let us know in the comments what questions do you have for us and for maybe Samantha going forward from watching this. Samantha, thanks so much for being on the show today, on the channel today. It's so awesome to have you. So you've got a successful consultancy company, which we'll dig into in a bit, and we'll talk about all the experiences you've had. But before we get into that, just tell us about yourself, kind of who are you, where'd you come from, your background, things like that.
Yeah, so my name is Samantha Day. I'm super happy to be here. I'm a mom of two. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old, a wife, and then I am a behavior specialist and a sleep expert for families. Most of them have children birth until about 5 years old, but I do consult with older ages as well. And my goal is really partnering with families, guiding them to a rested and happy home, because, we hear so often #tired as a mother, and, we kind of glorify sometimes sleepy nights in families, and it doesn't always have to be that way. People can reach it in a way that fits their family. So that's my goal, is guiding people to that understanding.
So here's one of the things I love about you, and I've always loved this, is your topic that you help people with, helping people kind of tackle this big challenging problem that we all have of sleep, and helping our children sleep and us getting good sleep. That is something that just kind of flows out of you, because you're passionate about it, right? This is so kind of take me back. Like, what initially made you kind of hone in on, okay, I'm going to help people with sleep?
Yeah. Well, I've always wanted to help people. That's just something that's kind of innate within me. And it first started with behavior. And so I was a special education teacher for a while, and I've always partnered with families for their children and their behavior. But when I became a mom, my goal was really to be a stay-at-home mom. My son was born. He was not the best sleeper in the world, and I need sleep. So when that happened, I really realized what that feels like. And for the first couple of months, I knew what it was like to be exhausted and try to parent at the exact same time. And so I realized, okay, why don't I take some of my behavioral background and partner that with some of the things I've researched or Googled, and then teach him how to reach those sleep goals. And it worked. And I thought, well, this is pretty cool. And then my friends started asking me for help. And so I would help them, and their friends started asking me for help. And so it was this natural progression of just helping people. And one day my husband said, you love this. What? Could you turn this into, could you help more people? And I had no idea. And at that point, I decided to research. I went back to school and got certified specifically in sleep, and started off from there. So I really thought it would be helping a family here, helping a family there. I didn't know how to turn that one-on-one help into an online platform, being able to reach a lot more people. And so I learned that path, and now I'm able to help the masses instead of one at a time.
I love this whole progression, because often this is the way it goes, where you have something that you're passionate about, that you're good at, and then people naturally come to you because they say, gosh, Samantha kind of has figured this out, and we've got this challenge, we've got this problem. They're coming to you, you're helping them, you're providing value for free, right? Until one day you, or your husband in this case, realizes, hey, you love this, people love it when you talk about this stuff, you're really helping people. Let's make some hay out of this, and let's turn this into something. And that's really, and this is something that I love to talk about on this channel, is that that's really the essence of business. It's just solving a problem, right? Meeting a need and solving a problem. So let's talk about your sleep consultancy business. It's called Samantha Day Sleep Consulting, correct?
Yep.
So who do you serve? How do you serve them? And what have you learned from the number of years that you've been serving your clients? How many years have you been in business?
So, well, I started free 6 years ago, but the actual business about 4 years.
Okay, so you've been in business for 4 years officially. And how many clients would you say that you've served?
So one-on-one, about 1,500. And then if we're talking about, the amount that the online side of it reaches, probably close to 10,000 now.
You have directly served 1,500 people in 4 years. and then taking it online, you were able to 5 or 6x that.
Yeah.
And you've only been online for a couple years, right?
Yeah, this last year or so is when it's really grown. But I would say that I started online about 2 years ago. And then in the last year, I became the online courses and things like that really helped more directly and more intently.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to dig all into the online component. Before we get to that, let's go back to when you first started and you were working with clients one-on-one. What did that look like? How did you get clients?
Yeah. So how did I get clients was 100% moms. I never paid for advertisement or anything, but when you help one family reach sleep, they tell all their friends.
Yeah.
And then they tell all their friends. So that was a natural progression as well.
Yeah.
But so that just kind of turned into people calling me and say, hey, you helped my friend. Can you help me, kind of thing. And it used to look like me going into their homes or meeting in a coffee shop. So often I would get their address. It was only local people. Sometimes I'd meet them at moms groups, things like that. And I would go into their house, look in their nurseries, tell them what they could adjust, give them that one-on-one help, hold babies and everything. I wasn't there at nighttime helping them do it, but I was pretty much holding their hands along the way.
Yeah.
And I quickly realized that was awesome, but I could only help so many people.
Right.
Because I'm one person and I had a family myself. And so it really limited the people I could help. And so my wait list was going like this, right? But my income and my help level could only stay here.
Right.
So that's when I decided to, increase it and be able to help in other ways. And so it just, at that point, it went from I go in your home to I only do phone calls. So I still worked only one-on-one, but it was phone call based or FaceTime based. So I would stay at home and I'd be able to help maybe double the amount of people instead of having the drive time and all of that. And then again, I continued to have more and more people come. So I turned to social media and learned how I could create an online based business doing the same thing and helping in the same way.
So there's I love it. There's so much there. So when you're helping these people, when you started out in the homes, if I were to guess, I would think that probably was an education all its own, right? Like you saw a lot that you probably draw on that knowledge a lot now.
Yes.
So I love it. And this is a lot of times where people start, where it's very common to start in a service-based business that you do hit that wall where there's only so many clients you can take and there's only so much you can charge. And so what happens is you get the wait list and you raise your rates and you reach this point where you can't raise your rates anymore because there's only people aren't going to pay $150,000 for you to come over, right? There's a limit.
Yeah, right.
And then you can't continue to work more and more and more hours. So then people naturally, these days, we live in the best time in history, they take it online. And in your case, I think it's so smart how you went from in-person to on the phone to online. What was the jump like from the in-person to and phone to, okay, now I'm going to take this online?
Yeah.
I imagine there's a learning curve there.
The learning curve was the biggest jump. When it was released, that wasn't much of a jump. People were so excited about it because it was another way for me to help them that was more convenient for me and for them. But the learning curve that I came across was how to set this up. I am not a tech girl. I knew nothing about any of that. So I had to learn that it was okay to ask for help, and I had to figure out where asking for help made the most sense for me and my business. Yeah. And so I could sit there with my iPhone and I could create the video, but I had no idea how to take that video, put it into a format where people could click and open it up and watch it and have it emailed right to them. I don't know any of that. So I really did reach out at that point and know that it was okay to ask for help and find a web person who's walked me through all of that. And so I handle what I'm good at and they handle what they're good at in that situation. So once we got that portion of it done, we were good, but I accepted that there's certain things I'm just not good at, and I'm okay for paying for those things because I can get content and information to people faster if I'm okay with asking for help in those areas.
Yeah, and that's it. I think if I'm guilty of I'm guilty of a lot, but one of the things I'm guilty of is I try to do it all myself, and I think it makes me inefficient because I'm unwilling sometimes to just go ahead and pay. That's something I've always admired about you, is that from the very first time we ever talked about this, you just said, look, I'm not a web designer, so I hired a web designer, Yeah. And that's something that I was unwilling to let someone else do, mainly because I didn't want to spend the money. And so I think that's a skill, and it's something that, I think for my business to scale and grow, I'm going to have to get adjusted to that. I'm going to have to get used to that because
I'll help you.
Thank you. Yeah, good, good. Maybe I can pay for some consulting and you can help me delegate. Because it really is a huge deal. What am I best at? What are you best at? And what's going to move the needle the most? And I find, and I think you probably would agree, developing content, making new products, that's what makes money. That's what grows my business. Messing around with the colors on my website, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. But I can find myself getting so bogged down into just making these little tweaks that don't really move the needle. So
Right.
I really think that's awesome. So when you went to online business, you developed a suite of products. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about your product suite. How did you what did you build first? Why'd you build that? What'd you build second? On.
I looked at what my audience was really asking for, and that's how I determined what my first product was going to be. And so what it was essentially a digital product that contained 5 videos. And I took the most commonly asked questions and I made it about that. So really, it's usually around 4 months old is when you can really start teaching a little one how to sleep all the way through the night if you haven't already naturally guided there. So I took it between about 4 months until about 5 years old. So that was the range that it fit if your child was that age. And it was 5 videos of how to make sure that we're guiding them on the path to sleeping solidly. And then one of the videos was specifically about how to teach them. So the sleep teaching method, whether it's cry it out or a Ferber method or whatever method you choose. So there were options in there because I am very much about individualizing approaches. Not every family is the same.
Sure.
So we have to figure out how to push past the whole sleep training controversy and focus on how is your child going to get sleep, because we all need it, no matter what your parenting style is. So that's what this was about. And I created it and it helped that window of people, right? And it was really great. But then I realized that there's other windows, right? There's an infant. So we're talking birth until about 3 months old. And there's different things that we would do at that time period. So that naturally rolled into another video series that was about the same. So essentially they're all products that are digitally purchased and then sent to people's emails that just have multiple videos. And what's nice is I created it one time. Mm-hmm. Get it up there with the help of my web people, and then it's there to be able to be purchased, and I don't have to do anything after that.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of there is no cap anymore. There's no ceiling, and then you can charge a massive premium for the one-on-one stuff if you choose to still do that, because they're getting access. But man, the scalability, you can sell one or you can sell 25,000 and it's the same amount of work. Well, and in that moment I did raise my one-on-one costs because now there was this option. So I was able to increase that from there. So now to this date, I have 4 immediate assistance video series products. And then I have a launch coming up that will even add on to that. So It's exciting. So let's talk about the launch. What are you launching?
So again, always listening to the audience, and a lot of people who have purchased this, they get sleep is great. They are exactly where they want to be. And then a milestone hits, a transition hits, and they're like, oh my gosh, they got sick. We traveled. They transitioned out of the crib into the toddler bed. All these different things happen. What do I do now? Right? So sleep all of a sudden is bad again and they don't know what to do. So what it is it's essentially now a library of videos. There's going to be 50 to 60 videos to start, and I'll keep adding from there. And so people will be able to go into this system, click on the age of their child, and then every single transition that happens in that age range, there will be a video on. So they'll be able to say, okay, I have an 8-month-old who's transitioning to 2 naps a day. They go to that video, they watch it, and it tells them exactly what to do. So it's a membership group where they have this access to the library, and then they'll have access to me twice a month in a Zoom type of call where they can ask me questions directly in that type of way. So I'm not going to do a monthly membership. I'm going to be doing a 4-month, a 12-month, and a lifetime option, because that's probably what makes the most sense for me and this type of business. But I'm excited because it's the next step. So people don't have to say, oh my gosh, this happened, I need a call. They can just go right to the videos.
Wow. Very cool. So is there a community aspect to it, like where they can talk to you and each other within the thing?
So we're thinking about it.
Yeah.
By we, I mean me, because a lot of businesses that have a membership group, a community aspect makes complete sense, and you can help each other. But for mine, it maybe doesn't. So I'm still back and forth because it becomes a group of a lot of moms, and there's a lot of moms pages out there.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the information given by you should do this or hey, you should try that becomes so overwhelming that we're back at square one.
Right.
So either I would have to be in that group a lot in order to make sure that all the recommendations are proper, or I'm going to have to just kind of limit that.
Yeah, that's really good to know, because I mean, you don't want to have to be correcting the record, and then you risk offending certain members, and that's so there really is no one size fits all to a continuity or membership site. I think it's really cool your pricing structure, because I've heard of once paying by the month or an annual option. but I've never heard of the 4, 12, and lifetime.
Yeah.
Have you set your prices yet?
I have 2 different ones that I'm going back and forth, but yes, I pretty much know what I'm going to do. And essentially why I decided not to do a 1 month is because with this series, when they purchase it, they're automatically going to have access to 2 of the digital products.
Yeah.
And one of those digital products is $59. So
Gotcha.
if they paid one monthly fee of $19, let's say, or $29,
Yeah.
they'd be getting all that information and could just drop off after a month. And so I want them to really be able to see that, get where they need to be, and then see the value in it.
Yeah.
So 4 months makes the most sense as the minimum one.
Yeah.
But essentially how I'm doing the 4 month, 12, and lifetime is that if you break it down to the month for all of those, it makes more sense to get a lifetime because the month to month at that point is obviously much less.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
All right, so you run a business from your home, right? You got 2 children, you got a husband who works full time outside of the home. What's that like? How do you manage the obligations of your business? And then when the school cancels for the 25th time this year because it rained a little bit, how do you deal with that? What's that like?
So thankfully my kids are at the age where they can entertain themselves a little bit more, they can play with each other, so that becomes a little bit easier. But what I like is that even on the hardest day where let's say school was canceled last minute and I didn't know, I do have the flexibility of saying, hey, I'm here. I don't have to worry about where you're going to go or where my childcare is going to be.
Yeah.
And so they're safe in the home with me, which is great. And so that flexibility I really appreciate. I also like that I can, go run the Valentine's Day party as the room mom if I wanted to, or I can go attend a field trip if I wanted to. It gives me that flexibility. But I do have to be really specific with my hours. So as much as I'd love to go grab coffee with a friend at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm working, whether it's from home or not. I have pretty strict parameters and I don't allow myself to do that kind of stuff most of the time. I'll squeeze one in every once in a while because I just think it's important that those are my work hours. And I'm also very specific about making sure this works for my family. So I used to take calls at nighttime and during the day. And now that my kids are kindergarten and first grade, I only take calls while they're at school. And so when they're home, the minute I pick them up off the bus, my computer's closed and I'm really focusing on my family. And so the balance took a little bit, but now that it's there, it's really comfortable because I don't have to worry about squeezing things in here and there when the kids are home. I get to do it while they're at school and still have that flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. A point of tension that I've heard a lot of people who work from home feel is either their family, maybe their spouse or their kids, but in a lot of cases, their friends will be like almost kind of, especially with online entrepreneurs, because they don't really understand what we do. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, you're not working. Let's just get together.
Yep.
And that's why I think it's really great that you have those boundaries to say, no, this is my job and I just happen to be the boss.
Yeah.
But I've told myself I have to do this.
Yeah. And so often too, I have people go, hey, can I ask you a few questions? Maybe we can just go out for coffee. Like they think it's a fun little friend situation, and we can ask questions. And that's hard with friends because of course I give, friend discounts and things like that.
Sure.
But there are some people that will kind of try to say, finagle their way into a bunch of time with me, which pulls away from the time that I could be helping other people in this platform. So there's definitely got to be boundaries.
Yeah. Nobody wants to have their brain picked.
Yeah.
Just a word of advice, if you're approaching someone that you see as an influencer, as a business, as somebody that you want to be like and learn from, do not email them and say that you'd like to pick their brain. Yeah. There is something about that just grates all over me because it's so lazy. Give a specific, what specifically do you want to know and how are you going to make use of that knowledge? Anyway, that's just an aside.
Side note, but it's very true.
Let's shift gears for a second. So you've written 2 children's books that directly relate to sleeping. Okay, so let's talk about those. What are they? What are they called? And why'd you write them?
Yeah, so they're essentially the same book, but there's a boy version and a girl version. Sleepy Steve and Sleepy Susie. And I wrote them because as a mom who would go into a library and be really excited when I would find a book about sleep to read to my kids, I would open it up and ultimately, almost every single time, it would be about monsters under the bed or how they didn't want to fall asleep at nighttime. And it was kind of negative. Well, it wasn't it was very negative based on sleep. And I don't want to read that kind of book to my child because I would like them to sleep well.
Right.
And so I'm a really big advocate of books modeling behavior and habits that we want our children to do and not that we don't want our children to do. So after reading enough of those, I just said, okay, enough's enough. We need to model behavior we want to see. So I just sat down one day and words started flowing. And in a notebook, a basic notebook, I just started writing down words and it all came together. And again, I had no idea how to self-publish a book. No idea at all. The only person I had ever met that had self-published a book is you.
Really?
Yes. I knew nothing about it. So you were the first person to make me think, okay, maybe I could do this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if Lane could do it,
then
anybody
can do it. So I tried to figure it out. I did some research, but I started feeling overwhelmed. Like, what's the first step? What do I do? So I wrote the book. I found an illustrator who drew all the pictures for me, and I made sure she knew how to do it in a format that would work for a self-published book because I had no idea.
Yeah.
I paid her to publish it, and then I went to Fiverr, and I found somebody who would go on Amazon and who would take all of my information and turn it into a book that somebody could purchase and have mailed to their house. So I still to this day have no idea how to do that, and I'm okay with that.
That's
because I don't need to know. I just needed to get it in the hands of people to help them in that moment. And so it literally cost me $75 to have somebody else do it all for me, and it probably saved me hours of research.
Of hours.
Yeah, and figuring it out. And so now people can order it, and in 2 days it's in their hands.
Yeah.
And I don't have to print it. I don't have to mail it. Amazon does that all for me.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's the beauty of the world we live in. In fact, it's interesting. I had the same story when I saw that somebody I knew had written a book. I had the same thought. Well, if they can do it, I can do it. And as I got into talking to them about it and realized that you don't hold inventory, you don't buy a bunch of books that you're never going to sell. It's print on demand. Somebody buys a book, they print it and ship it right then. Yep. Hey, that's great. There's no barrier to entry. Let's do this. A lot of what we talk about on this channel is self-publishing. So we talk about self-publishing and online business. So you're kind of the perfect conversion of those two things, or convergence of those two things, because you're an online business owner and a published author. So if somebody wants, so I don't know much about writing children's books, like at all. So what did you learn in the process? And what would you say that would help someone who's thinking about writing a children's book?
Well, I think the first thing is you need to figure out what your main goal is. Is your goal to figure out the process of how to do it all, how to write it, how to, illustrate it, how to get it up there? Or are you just wanting to is your main goal the words? So my main goal was the words. I'm going to get the words, the proper words, and the pictures of what it's going to look like. And so that was the first step for me. And then finding somebody who could, through picture, put those words to real life.
Yeah.
And so finding the right illustrator, which nowadays in the world of social media, I started looking on Instagram, #children's books or children's illustrators. And I was able to find somebody I found a lot of people, but I found one that I could afford and that I also liked her work. And so we worked really well together, and she was able to take my words and put them in pictures that made me think, oh yeah, that's what was in my head. Yeah. So finding the proper collaboration is really important. And then just do it. Because often we have ideas in our heads and they stay in our heads for a really long time.
Right.
And sometimes you just have to do it and push yourself forward to find the right people and get it up there. And especially if you're doing it in a print on demand type of way, you can do it. You can just get those words into reality pretty quickly.
At the end of the day, you've got to just do it. You got to make something happen, because a lot of people have ideas. And in fact, I think somebody said there's a stat that says 81% of people have a book in them, but 4 out of 5 people that have not written a book. Why is that? It's because execution is what matters. Like, people have ideas till they're blue in the face, but if you don't execute on the ideas, and I think that's it's so easy to set yourself apart if you just do it. Yeah. You just do the work. And so whether it's taking a passion and turning it into a business, or taking another type of passion and turning it into a book, you can really set yourself apart in a huge way. So we've covered a lot of amazing content in this interview, and I've really, really enjoyed this. I think that there's so much that you have to offer, not just people who want to learn how to sleep and make their kids sleep, but you have a lot to offer the business world, the online business world, because you've taken you have done such a good job of taking your passions and interests and not just monetizing them, but like turning them into a business in spite of anything you don't know. What you don't know, you figured it out. and you've hired the people that can help you figure it out. And that's the name of the game. I want to move on to who has influenced you the most, because I think that's a really important question. But before we do, anything that comes to mind that you're like, I want to talk about this before we move on?
I don't think so. I think that the biggest thing is action. It's just that, like you said, so many people have ideas but don't turn it into something. And nowadays, in 2020, the things that are possible are endless. The ways you can help and reach and get your ideas out there. I mean, the list goes on, but you have to just know that it's possible and figure out a path to get there, which has a lot to do with who has guided me there. I mean, I've had mentors that have taught me how to do this, how to make it a reality, and they're out there. You just have to watch YouTube channels like this so that you can learn how to do it.
So who would say in the online business space, who's your biggest fan, your biggest hero, had the most influence on you?
You know the answer to this. For sure, Jennifer Allwood. She is a business coach. She's absolutely amazing, and she helps business owners create their businesses, but also protect their businesses by having multiple revenue streams. And of course the revenue is great, but the biggest thing about creating those revenue streams is you figure out other avenues of helping people. Because like I said, I could have just done one-on-one, and that would have been my only revenue stream, but I also would have only been helping in that one way. Now I have multiple revenue streams, which is great for my family, but it's also great because I'm able to create different ways that help different people. So she is she has a course that it's called Creator's Roadmap that helps people learn those different revenue streams, but she's also a monthly coach. So she will help you learn all the new things that are out there, all the new ways to help people and stay on top of that. So you can continue to stay on top of your business, but also stay on top of helping a lot of different people. So I've been able to create 5 of the 7 different revenue streams to this point. And then the 6th one is a membership group. So that'll be coming in April.
Okay, so you mentioned that there's 6 revenue streams, and you've got 5 of the 6.
Yep.
What are the 6?
So right now, one-on-one coaching, affiliate sales, ad revenue, my book, digital products. So digital products are my video series, and then the 6th will be the membership group that's coming.
Wow. Okay. So I have all but the 6th one as well. I don't have a membership site yet.
Cool.
I will someday.
Yes.
But I've got a few more courses and stuff to do before then. But yeah, that's really good. I mean, 6. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. So if you have 6 and then just add investing to it, you're basically there.
There you go. I got to figure that out.
It's a millionaire way to live.
Okay.
Well, cool. So Jennifer Allwood has been awesome, and you got to meet her.
I did.
You got to participate. You got to be on her podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, her podcast right now is number 9 in entrepreneurship podcasts. So she is going up there real quickly. And I was on her podcast probably now a year ago. And we're talking about sleep and why it's so important in our businesses, not just with children. So that was an honor to be with her. And then I also did, meet her in person. And I've collaborated with her in a few other ways. It's been a pleasure to do that.
And you also met Stu McLaren, correct? Are you basing some of your or a lot of your membership site structure on what he teaches, or is that someone else?
Recently. So Jennifer is in his mastermind.
Okay.
And so a lot of what she does and models in her membership groups and in her courses is what she's learned from him.
Okay.
So ultimately through her, I've learned a lot of the things that he teaches. So just recently I've turned to listening to his podcast. When I met him, he was one of the nicest people I've ever met. And he truly took interest in me and my business, and he touched me in a really cool way because he really cared, and not everybody is like that. So I did start really following him on social media and all of that. And so what I'm learning through that with him is that what I knew and what I've learned from Jennifer is very much what he teaches.
Yeah.
He also has a group on Facebook that is for people that are thinking about or have launched a membership group. It's a free group that essentially will turn to a paid group one day, but it's a free one right now. And I'm a part of that. You're a part of that. And there's a lot of great information there from him too. But I haven't taken his tribe course.
Well, I'm a recipient of his teaching from indirectly. I'm in a membership site that is by Graham Cochran, and he was heavily influenced by how Stu teaches how to do it with the founders launch and then the kind of structure. And it's amazing. It is a great group to be in, and I love it. Well, this has been awesome. I think I feel honored that you came to be on the show today or on the channel.
Thank you.
And I think you're going to be, you've already been on making the TV circuit here in Knoxville. And I think that's probably just going to go national and worldwide. So you saw it first right here.
Right here.
On Lane
Hopefully.
Sebring's channel.
We can only pray that it happens.
Yeah. So I can imagine a lot of people are going to want to find out more about you. They're going to want to find out more about Samantha Day Sleep Consulting and everything else you've got going on. So how can people get in touch with you and what you've got to offer?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram. There's daily tips on there. And both Instagram and Facebook, you can search Samantha Day Sleep Consulting. My actual website is samanthadayconsulting.com, and you'll be able to go to everything, the podcast, social media, the courses, all of that there.
And we'll link to all of that in the description. So thank you so much for being on today. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we can do this again, maybe a little bit down the road, and just see where your business is and where mine is, and go from there. So
that'd be great.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. Be sure to give this video a like. And like I said, leave a comment. We'll answer whatever questions, or I'll be sure to answer questions that you have about online business or anything. And if you have a question for Samantha, online business, being a rock star, being a sleep consultant, whatever, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. So share this video with a friend if you liked it, and I will see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's a wrap.
That went well.